well-known figure in many worlds in New York and Brooklyn and beyond. In 2015, he united his passion for progress and justice to found Progressive Action, which is an entity that transcends the traditional boundaries of labor and community movements. So it's more than a labor movement. Progressive Action has become the voice of a collective advocating for change on many fronts. And it organizes toy drives and coat drives, spearheads voting initiatives, establishes food pantries, and Progressive Action stands as a testament to the transformational power implicit in such an organization. They've got senior citizen Valentine's Day celebrations, marches, rallies, press conferences, advocacy, and they've also got a channel. You were a viral communicator long before people really knew what that was. You launched Progressive Action TV, the largest TV platform dedicated to labor issues in New York City. You can see it on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and it serves as a vital tool for disseminating information, fostering dialogue, and inspiring action. And so Progressive Action redefines the landscape of labor and community movements. And here on his website, you will see Trammell Thompson with a number of leaders from across the political spectrum, I would say. I would also just note before we jump right in that you have a very senior position in a formal labor organization, but you're not speaking here as in that role, you're speaking as an individual. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct.
Okay, great. And you're professionally, you've been a transit worker. I can say that, right?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, how wonderful. Well, you're on the front lines, right, of so much. And let's just launch right in. I mean, one of the immediate things I wanted to talk to you about is you came out as an individual, as a community leader, as a grassroots, voice for advocacy and justice in the larger New York City world, uh, in support. Well, why don't you tell me, have you made an endorsement recently?
Yes, for New York City mayor, I have endorsed Curtis Sliwa.
So that's kind of a, one's head explodes in some quarters. I was a lifelong Democrat. I was Democratic political consultant to two presidential campaigns. One thing that always struck me about conversations about some demographics of voters is that Democrats just assumed that they locked up the Black and Hispanic vote. And they assumed they locked up the labor vote. They assumed working class people or working people will always vote for us. Black and Hispanic people will always vote for us. So Curtis Sliwa, of course, is a Republican. And my audience knows that I've been active. Daily Cloud has been supporting Athena Clark, who's also a school teacher running as a Republican. There's this whole slate of young Republicans from all communities, all walks of life running, which I think is very newsworthy. And here you are with your deep roots in community activism and social justice and representing the ultimate working people, the transit workers of New York City who keep the city moving and the boroughs. Why did you decide now was the time to endorse a Republican?
I didn't look at it as endorsing a Republican or endorsing a Democrat. I looked at it as endorsing common sense.
Hmm.
And you have nonsensical people on both sides, but when it came to Curtis, uh, he had common sense policies that align with the things that me.
Wow. Well, Trammell, tell me what you mean by you're getting a lot of thumbs up. And you're getting some criticism already. You're clearly a well-known figure, lightning rod. What do you mean by nonsensical people on both sides?
Well, like you could look at Mondami policy where he wants to spend $65 million to gender affirming care, I think trans care for minors. Um, that's not sensical. That's not logical. I don't even think it aligns with his faith. So that's just one example.
Mm.
Cuomo gave workers in New York State Tier 6, which is a poverty pension, which means that you could spend 25, 30 years working for an organization or agency or whatever the case is in the state or city, and you won't be able to retire financially. So you will
Yeah.
be a slave to the system. And I think that the game behind that was When people retire, we won't have to pay them a pension because they can't afford to retire, so they basically die on the job. That's nonsensical to me. That's not how you reward people who spend 25, 30 years in an agency. And
Wow.
when you look at Curtis Sliwa, public safety, he started the Guardian Angels, um, off his own dime, his own volition. Uh, and that's sensical to me, right? Not a vigilante group, but a group of people who was out there from all backgrounds, black, white, Hispanic, wanting to do right
Hmm.
for this city.
Hmm.
It's as simple as
Wow.
that for me.
Yeah, yeah. Those are really good examples. May I call you Trammell? Call me
Yes,
Naomi?
absolutely.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Those are great examples. Now you are surrounded by people who are working for the city. You know what people working for the city deal with. I know you are not speaking for your union, but are you hearing, is your voice a lonely and isolated one, from a kind of, first responders, transit workers, kind of, police, teachers, firefighters, community, or are there other working people in New York, especially who work for the city, who are also saying neither of these, Mamdani does not represent me and, um, Cuomo doesn't represent me?
Well, in my in my field of transportation, we actually have transit workers that used to work for Mr. Sliwa, black transit
Oh,
workers,
oh, wow.
right? So
Mhm.
I think through them, that's what made me say that, or made me look at Sliwa. This ain't the first time that I've supported Sliwa. This is the first time I endorsed him. When he
Interesting.
ran the last time, we did a whole hour interview on my platform. And from there, I was like, this is the guy.
Wow. So it's really not about labels for you, Trammell. Is that correct?
No, because you got people from both aisles that have good ideas and do the right thing. It's about, I keep telling people, the Janet Jackson song, "What Have You Done For Me Lately?" Um, that's what I lean towards. And I think that when it comes to the working class, I
Mhm.
really don't think that we should be aligned with political tribalism. I
Interesting.
believe that um the workers, we should listen to every side because maybe the Republicans are saying something good that the
Mhm.
Democrats are not saying.
Mhm.
And should we not support the Republicans because we are Democrats?
Mhm.
Even though they have an interest that could benefit us and make our lives a day better, we're not going to listen to that side because they Republicans, and we just go listen to the Democrats because we are Democrats, and we're going to defend the good and the bad. Even though we won't talk about the bad, we'll talk about only the good. I don't feel like that's beneficial to the working class.
Right. Wow. Well, that's a breath of fresh air. And one of our commentators says, "Oh, I like that, endorsing common sense." You're also very high profile. I've never had this happen before in a podcast, Trammell. You also have what looks like a pro Mom Donnie troll or irate individual, not to dismiss anyone's point of view, who's saying you're a sellout. And he's also posting all of the one after another Mom Donnie campaign talking points, and that's Ed Opperman. So he's saying you'll save at the supermarket with a state supermarket. He's saying didn't Sliwa stage a bunch of phony stunts to get in the press? So he's here with us, and we'll hear from you, Mr. Opperman, for sure. Everyone's entitled to his or her opinion. But you, Trammell, he mentioned if you're a business owner and you employ people, you want them getting to work on time, stress free. Mr. Opperman, real person, troll or bot, whatever you are, welcome. I respect any version of debate. Um, you're the expert, Trammell, on transit. You and your, friends and colleagues. Again, not speaking as a representative of transit workers. You know what it takes uh, to keep New York running. And I just want to remind everyone, as a longtime New York resident, 8 million people rush hour, getting to work, getting to school, weekends, taking their children to the park, on the subway, on the bus. It is a massive, monumental undertaking. And I am very well aware as a New Yorker, just like firefighters don't get anything like credit for keeping us safe. Police don't get anything like the credit they deserve. Transit workers do not get the credit they deserve every day for moving millions of people around a very complex city on often very antiquated infrastructure. So, having said all of that, what is your view of Mamdani's fast free buses promise? Is that a good idea?
Um, I everybody want faster service. People want things for free. Is it a reality? Uh, I don't know. Um, I would want. I think the transportation system should be free to a degree. I think if the billionaires pay their fair share, um, it should be free because these trains and buses take people to their businesses.
Mhm,
That makes them rich, right? Now,
mhm,
to address something that Mr. Opperman said, where he was like about small businesses and getting to work on time. Mom Domney also said that he wants the minimum wage to be 30 something dollars an hour. Are we going to look at how that's going to impact the small businesses? Yes. Do I think minimum wage should be $30 an hour? Yes. When it comes to these state agencies like the MTA, uh, I don't know what the minimum pay is for a police officer, but they should not be coming out of the academy making 45,000 a year. We all
mhm.
could agree to that. But there are things inside Mondami's plan where he's burning the candle from both ends. All right, yes, minimum wage should be 30 something dollars an hour, but how do you address that with the small businesses? That means that these small businesses have to raise their prices to make up for those salaries, right? And they're competing with these small businesses, these mom and pop stores are competing with these Amazons, these
Right.
Walmarts, these Targets. His plan is go put them out of business if
Yeah.
they got to make $30 an hour, and they should make $30 an hour. But I think that it hurts the small businesses. It would make more sense for state agencies and city agencies to impose that minimum.
Really interesting. Well, I just want to drill in for a minute with the buses question specifically because he's that's been such a centerpiece of his campaign. Um, there is another city that has tried that, and it was a disaster. And even in Queens, apparently he passed one bill of the three bills he passed and had a pilot program of free buses. And what the other city found is that it quickly turned into an unsafe situation because, of course, in the middle of winter, a free bus is going to be attracting, I mean, we already have issues with all the compassion in the world of drug addiction, homelessness, and so people are going to hang out on the buses, right, if they have nowhere else to go. But also, what other cities have found when they experiment with free transportation, I'm interested in your opinion on this. I'm not knowledgeable at all, except for this, is that with then those the bus system or the MTA doesn't have a budget, and so quickly things deteriorate and they can't be cleaned and they can't be maintained, and it's actually less safe and comfortable for the workers. What would you say to that position?
What does free really mean? Somebody's got to pay for it. So, like Naomi, if I say, "Hey, let's go discuss some business and let's go get a steak," everything is taken care of. That means that you don't have to pay, but somebody paid for it. Whether it's
Right.
me, whether the restaurant comped it, they had to pay for the steak. They didn't get the steak for free. Somebody paid for it in the back end. Um, will free buses create public safety issues? Uh, I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't like to compare us to London. I like to
Mm,
compare us to New York City. New York City is a one of a kind city. There's no other
mhm,
city like it in the world. But with our current issues of homelessness, not enough beds for the EDPs, crime seem like it's going up because it's what we see, not what the stats say. Do I think that the free buses will cause a issue in the system? I don't know. I feel like the buses are free now. You can speak to any bus operator and ask them
mm,
how many how much part of the public pays now. It hasn't
right.
been the same since COVID. The buses was free during COVID. They was telling people to get on the back of the buses, and people are still doing that. So the ridership didn't really come back on the buses. Period. So you can ask any bus operator that, like, on your normal day, how many people pay? They'll probably tell you like a quarter of the people pay.
You know, you're explaining something, Trammell, that I wondered about because in Brooklyn, where I live, and I know you live too, there are buses that say, I've never seen this in any city in my life, something like fares are required, you know, in big, big, bold lettering on the front, fares are required. I'm like, how did it come to be that anyone would be under the misapprehension that fares are not required? So when a bus driver is driving a bus and a bunch of people are getting on without paying the fare and getting in the back, which I am guessing is also a safety issue, um, isn't that demoralizing?
No, because uh we had bus operators get killed for trying to enforce the fare. And our paycheck is not connected to whether a couple of riders pay or not. We gonna get paid
Gotcha.
the same amount. So my position on that is that I don't like to see bus operators enforce the fare because if someone gets violent with them, the MTA frown upon any personnel to defend themselves. The law isn't on our side,
Mhm.
and we don't have much protection. So, for most bus operators, I know somebody don't pay, they press a button called F5 to show that a passenger came on the bus that didn't pay, and that's
Mm, wow. I guess I should have asked the question differently. Isn't it depressing to bus drivers to be put in a situation in which a bunch of people are not obeying the rules of riding on transit?
I've never heard a bus operator say, I'm depressed because people are not paying their fares that they required to pay. I think that they get depressed when one of us get assaulted and the justice system doesn't work the way it's supposed to work.
Right.
Because essentially, if we feel like we out there alone most times, outside of the support with the union. But
Yeah.
when we going through situations like that, we need the politicians to stand with us. We need the justice system to stand with us. We need the DAs to stand with us. I think that's the most demoralizing part of the
Yeah.
job.
You've said something very important. For some reason, my light just switched off, but I'm sure you can still see me,
Yeah.
everyone. You've said something really important. You know, these things don't happen in a vacuum, right? I mean, people don't drive buses or trains in a vacuum. If something goes wrong, they need institutional backup and they need, you know, not to be kind of hung out to dry by the city, essentially, or by the courts and so on. Well, the reason I'm thinking about that is I've been thinking a lot about the transit question because to me, as a New York woman, riding public transportation feels so much more dangerous than it used to. And I mean, I don't mean like someone's going to grab my purse necessarily, but New Yorkers, tell me what you think of this, Trammell. I feel like New Yorkers used to talk to each other. And they, you know, whether they were annoyed or pleasant, they would say things like, "Hey, buddy, turn down your radio," you know, or "Hey, why don't you give this lady an opportunity to sit down?" Or "Hey, your backpack is in my face, buddy," you know, and people would just adjust and communicate and pretty much get along, and that is a sign of a healthy society. But I feel I find myself not saying anything, you know, even when something is getting pretty weird or dangerous. And I know there have been a lot of viral clips of people not doing anything, including big men not doing anything, because the people who intervene, as you were saying, they're the ones who get in trouble. Or I find myself not saying anything like, "Hey, do you mind turning down the volume on your incredibly loud, you know, show you're watching on your phone?" um, because I'm afraid that it'll escalate into, you know, either a very psychologically unpleasant or a violent situation. And so transit workers are right in the middle of that. I'm not sure why I'm bringing that up. Yes, I am. Curtis Sliwa rode the subways, right? Like that's how he became well known. He actually dealt with the unsafe subways and dealt with making them safer. What's your view about what I just said? And doesn't that sense of like social fragility or people not talking in a civil way to each other, things escalating so quickly, no one, you know, no one being backed up when they step in. Is that affecting transit workers too, or working people, I should say, in New York?
That's a loaded question. So, I believe the communication is there, but you don't know the mental capacity of the person that you're saying that to. So you could be on the train and be
Right.
like, "Hey, can you please turn down your radio?" Um, that you don't know what mind state that person is in. You don't know what kind of day that person is having, right? And
Hmm.
most times that could lead to an assault of you
Hmm.
saying something as simple as that to please turn down your radio or please take off your backpack.
Hmm.
Um, I believe that after COVID, things did get a little bit more worse in the subway system. And I believe that if you do encounter someone with a loud radio or backpack and you
Hmm.
able just to go to another car,
Hmm.
I would say do that versus saying something because you may
Right.
not make it out that subway. Back in, I believe in 2021, 2022,
Hmm.
it was like 9 shootings in the subway, even before the mass shooting,
Oh my
where
gosh.
people actually got killed. There was multiple rapes. In fact, the transit authority themselves disciplined me for highlighting the rapes inside the transit system.
Wow.
If you could believe that, they disciplined
But
me when
you
I
weren't
was a
supposed to
conductor.
mention it?
Huh?
Like you weren't supposed to mention it? Like what were you supposed to do? Not discuss it?
They don't want me to discuss anything that's going to bring a negative light, and actually, they discipline workers for doing those exact things.
That's horrible. So it's not just my impression. Is crime worse in the on public transit?
That's a great question. So it's not about the crime, so to speak. It's about, do you feel safe?
Right,
So you
that's
can
true.
have you can have an EDP on the train or
What's an
bus,
EDP, Trammell?
emotionally disturbed person, right?
Oh,
You
so
can have
many
a
in New York, yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
you can have an EDP on the train or the bus screaming, yelling, and you're on that train or bus. Is that person committing a crime? No.
Mhm.
But do you feel safe?
Mm,
Right? So
right.
that's what we talking about here, because one thing the powers that be like to defer to is, well, the stats say this, the data says this, but what we see and what we feel says something different, because not all safety issues is checked in a box. Like if
Right.
you could, if a EDP screaming or acting belligerent on an MTA vehicle, train, or bus, or on a
Hmm.
platform, they not committing a crime. The police
Hmm.
can't arrest them. But do you
Right.
feel safe? No,
Right.
I do not feel safe. And I think that that's the sleight of hand that we see these politicians play when it comes to safety on the subway. And this is why I
Mm,
believe that Curtis Sliwa is so important, because I could put money on this. He rides the subway more than probably any executive in the MTA, any board member, or
wow.
anyone who makes decisions about MTA issues and safety and public safety in general. I guarantee you that.
Wow, that is really interesting. And I mean, just for people who don't know the history of this public figure, he rode the subways in the 70s when they were and 80s, right? When they were incredibly unsafe with his organization, the Guardian Angels. And he did it because, as you were saying, I think Trammell public safety, wasn't working at that time. So yeah, he knows this situation intimately. Have you had blowback of any kind for endorsing a Republican?
I'm gonna tell you what's interesting. I've been getting blowback from, working with Kennedy, who's a personal friend of mine, RFK
Interesting,
Jr.
right?
I've been getting blowback from that,
But why?
but
He was a Democrat and he's from an old Democratic family.
man, I don't know what the people really have against him when it comes to what he does. They don't understand he's been fighting for health for a very long time. The
I see.
Riverkeeper Project, just Monsanto's what was going on there. But as far as with Curtis, I did not get a lot of blowback with the endorsement video.
Mhm.
I got blowback from the video I made about Mandami sponsoring a bill where if you have a car in New York City, he wants to charge you more to register that car based on the weight of your vehicle. And he starts at 2,000 pounds or more. What people don't understand, like when you go buy a car, nobody's
Mhm.
really asking how much does this car weigh,
Right.
right?
No, I never do. Yeah.
They looking at the price.
Yeah.
Most cars weigh more than 2,000 pounds, right? Um, that's, and we talking about Honda Civics, the the lowest price point for a car weighs more than 2,000 pounds, except those little
That's
personal cars where only like not even a coupe. I don't even know what to call them. They smaller than a punch buggy. We used to call them punch buggies when I was younger. But
mhm.
those cost, I think those weigh more than 2,000 pounds. But the fact of the matter is that Mom Domney is saying, wait, is it Mom Donnie? Mom Donnie. I was getting kicked in my butt for that a little bit. So I want to
It's fine.
pronounce his name correct. He want to make the city more affordable. Then why you continue to tax people for having vehicles? Some families need
Wow.
vehicles to go to
Yeah.
sporting events, to take their kids to the hospital, to go food shopping, and things of that nature. You want to tax the people who the working class who have cars or people who got cars in general, but you want to make the city more affordable. But in that same breath, he says that for electric vehicles, they won't be charged for their battery, the weight of their battery. But if the heavier cars destroying the road, does it matter if the car is electric or is it gasoline?
Wow.
Right.
These are
But
great questions, Trammell.
yeah, but the thing is that I get the electric vehicles for the it don't give off emissions, but then again, I did read that it does give off some type of emissions that's not healthy. I'm not too clear about that, but I
Mhm,
never even heard that in his reasoning for wanting to do that. But Mom Domney, he come up with he got some good things. I don't think freeze the rent is bad.
mhm.
Uh, but he has bad things too, in which I feel he burns the candle from both ends.
Right. Well, you're bringing up something really important, and a lot of these pieces are falling into place. We know, and again, disclosure to everyone, as I mentioned, Daily Cloud is helping Athena Clark with her campaign. Athena Clark's opponent in District 46 in Brooklyn got a giant chunk of change from Uber, as I understand. And Uber is investing in the city councils, the Democrats, running for city council. Now, this is related to what you just said, Trammell, because I've also noticed that Lyft sponsors City Bike, which I've been told by Janine Aquafreda and Athena Clark and others, running as Republicans in this election for city council and other positions, that city bikes take up parking spaces, and it's true that 95% of the time no one's using city bikes. Like I would love it if people use bikes, et cetera. But Athena has pointed out that where she lives, people are really dependent on their cars. And so, you know, this management of the streets is really benefiting Lyft and Uber. And then the last thing I'm thinking about, honestly, with that giant investment by Lyft and Uber in New York's kind of election outcome, I'm thinking about the fact that fast free buses, as we know, will turn into urine sodden, deteriorating shelters for people who need, help and psychiatric care. That also is going to go to like ruining public transit in New York helps Lyft and Uber. That's what I would say. So I may be being very cynical, but you've just mentioned another one. Oh, we're going to tax your car, add a fee for you to drive a certain weight of car. It sounds great to millennials who, are worried about global warming, but it's also a gift to Lyft and Uber, right? I,
I'm convinced that they want to make New York City a big pedestrian plaza.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
get cars out of the city. You brought up a good point of the Uber and the Lyft. Uh, yeah, there's something else going on where they don't want you to have cars. They want you to depend on all of these systems. All of these systems,
Mm,
the Uber system, the Lyft system, the MTA system.
mhm.
And if you only have these people being the only show in town, it becomes a monopoly. And you
Absolutely.
have no other way to depend on the transportation. And that's why the MTA gets away with what they get away with, because you can't say, well, MTA, I'm through with you. I'm going to use this other transportation system over here. You
Doesn't
got
exist.
we have to accept what they give us, and that's it.
Right.
And if we take away people rights to transportation, to at least drive their own personal vehicles, they pushing us into these systems where we have to rely on these systems. Um, and it's just another tax as far as I'm concerned.
Totally. And I would say, especially on women and children who really can't take dangerous public, if the public transit becomes more dangerous under a Mamdani administration, it's going to hit women and children and the elderly and the disabled, harder than anyone, and drive them to spend money they don't have on private cars. By the way, Athena pointed out there's also a crackdown on dollar vans. So everything seems to be converging on, you know, Democrats and frontrunners dumping benefits into Lyft and Uber at the expense of healthy public transit and other ways of getting around the city, private cars.
You brought
Um,
up a good point though, Naomi.
mhm,
Um, if the buses or the transportation system is free, then how do you regulate uh vagrants from being on there?
yeah, you
Because if
can't.
it's free,
Yeah,
they have a right to be there,
totally.
right? So yeah, I will say it will be more dangerous. You're right.
Yeah, it's pretty sad. And actually, we have someone, Roscoe, I posted this earlier. Roscoe's an old friend of ours, and he agrees, by the way, with your point about trans surgeries for kids being appalling mutilations. And he speaks as a gay man. I think I read that correctly. So Roscoe says free buses did not work on St. Pete Beach. Policing had to be quadrupled on the beach because the kind of people that were coming from downtown. Well, that I think you need to clarify what you mean there. Buses here currently say that, and then it cuts off. So um, you'll need to finish what you were saying there, Roscoe. Uh, but that's very interesting that policing had to be quadrupled. I mean, I could see free buses being a place. Here's what I think, remembering being a stoner teenager. They're going to be places where teenagers after school will congregate to get high and make out. I mean, why would you not? There's nowhere else to go. I mean, fast free buses. So, uh,
I mean, listen, you never know the path that this city is going. They made safe houses for people who shoot drugs to get needles and stuff like that. Who's to say with the socialist agenda that they won't make safe houses so kids could make out? They're already saying minors could go get surgeries and do all this transgender stuff. And let's to be clear on that, I'm all for adults making those decisions. All
totally.
for adults making those
Right.
decisions. If that makes you happy, then salute to you. But
Right.
I'm not with imposing this on minors and children who you can make a decision about your gender, but you can't even buy alcohol or smoke cigarettes legally, buy cigarettes legally or gamble.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that makes absolutely no sense. Should we let 13, 14-year-olds go to the military now?
No, I'm with you. I think we're going to look, and again, I support LGBTQ legal rights, of course, but I don't think any adult should be talking to minors about any sexuality. It's totally inappropriate. And yeah, we're going to look back on this time like that's a huge atrocity. And it just seems, doesn't it seem weird to you, Trammell? You're very politically clued in, very politically astute. Why do you think Mamdani keeps trotting out policies that no one is asking for? Like no one's saying spend millions of dollars on trans surgery in New York. No one's saying please prioritize legalizing sex work, which we know is just going to boost the power of cartels and human trafficking. So why and he's Muslim, so these things are haram, right? Why, I mean they're forbidden. Why do you think he's rolling out? I mean, why is he talking about 9/11 so supportively, posing with Hassan Piker, who said America deserved 9/11? This is New York. Like people of all walks of life who are old enough remember what happened that day. And it's like randomly re-traumatizing us. I don't get his political strategy in rolling out these, proposals that no one's asking for and also, bringing up 9/11. What's your view?
Somebody asking for it that he's proposing it. It may not be the community he from or the
Mm,
African diaspora that he likes to flaunt sometime, or his community in Queens. Someone is asking for it. But
interesting.
but the thing with him is he led with this free agenda. We need
Mm,
to freeze this, make this free, make that free. I think that most people when they hear the word free, they tune out everything else.
yeah, it's true.
And let's give him credit. He's a great orator. He
Hmm.
speaks very well.
Hmm.
He looks great.
Hmm.
He smiles a lot. He comes off as this calming guy,
Hmm.
and all of that plays a factor in how people perceive him.
Hmm.
And just bringing up 9/11. Before I even answer that question, I disagree with some of the cartoons I've seen with a plane that says Mom Domney on it going into the Twin Towers.
Hmm.
I disagree with what I see with that. And I think that those tactics, whoever putting them out, whichever side is doing it, is just going to excite his base.
Hmm.
Mom
Wow.
Domney is good at playing victim. People generally don't like
Hmm.
bullies,
Hmm.
right? And he plays it well. He just released a video which I almost shed a tear listening to it, where he made people feel proud of being Muslim. And
Hmm.
I think that it was a great video.
Hmm.
He's playing the game of is 1 point something million Muslims in New York City, and basically you all need to get behind me because they
Hmm.
trying to victimize all of us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean that you need, if you haven't seen that video, I think you need to see that video. It's very touching. He delivered it excellent, but
Hmm.
I see exactly what he's trying to do. It's just another political maneuver to get the
Hmm.
Muslims behind him to make it seem like he's being victimized and that. And I believe if you're running for office, we shouldn't even be talking religion.
Right.
We should be
Well,
talking politics and policies and stuff like that that affects the communities.
well, thank you for saying that, Trammell, because you're anticipating my next question. I One of the things that I find miraculous about New York City is that people from all backgrounds, all politics, all races, all classes, all religions pretty much get along. I'm not saying there isn't racial tension. I'm not saying there isn't ethnic and, religious tension and incidents and hate crimes and so on. There are obviously, but overwhelmingly, it has been a huge example to the rest of the world about a bunch of people who are totally different uniting, and we do unite periodically as New Yorkers. We do, you know, I mean, I think the transit workers are a great example, or the first responders. They come from all walks of life and they get together to get the job done every single day, without being divided by sectarian issues, or, they're just New Yorkers. Well, the reason I bring this up is I've been struck as a former lifelong Democrat that Democrats are being the most divisive I've ever seen in my life, dividing everyone into race and class and gender and labels. And that it's people like Athena Clark and like you and like, Curtis Sliwa, Republicans who are speaking the language I grew up with, which is we are all Americans. Yes, there are differences, but what unites us is more important. Getting the job done is more important. Making the city great is more important. Being American is more important. Um, so is that one reason you were drawn to? Well, you're saying you're not I don't know if you said you're not a Republican. You're not endorsing a Republican for partisan reasons. But let me ask the question: are you also finding that Democratic, like DNC talking points are alienating, because they're so divisive? And and are you finding a more inclusive community among, you know, the right? Or is that too much to say?
Well, you asked me a question earlier about my endorsement of Mr. Sliwa and have I been getting attacked or whatever the case is. My
Mhm.
attack started happening when I brought up the bill that Mom Domney sponsored regarding paying more to register your vehicles based on the weight.
Oh
And
yeah,
that
why
and
do
that
you think, I'm sorry to interrupt. Why do you think you got attacked on that? I didn't follow up on that.
Well, this is one of the first times where I've really taken a political stand,
Mhm.
and it was Democrats that was attacking me, and
Oh wow.
I've been a Democrat leaning, even though I'm a registered independent, my most of my life, and I've talked bad about Trump and
Uh-huh.
the Republicans. What I noticed from that end, is that they would try to educate me on my position. Like, you're wrong, you need to read this, you need to do that. But when it comes to the Democrats, it's like it's a tax. You're a dummy, you're a fool, you're an idiot.
Oh, wow.
I'm a unfollow you. And I'm like, just because I support Sliwa, you want to unfollow me, even though I give out a lot of good information every day. My platform reaches over 5 million people a month.
You're
You
huge.
want, yeah.
You're bigger than the New York Times, Trammell, seriously.
So
Uh,
you want to unfollow me and call me names and saying I'm who's paying me. And just to be clear, Sliwa Camp, I never asked them for money. They never offered me money.
hmm.
Like, we in a space where, because of who I am, I support someone. I must have did it for an underlying issue.
How
It
awful.
makes absolutely no sense. And you
Mm,
brought up something about unity and unifying and coming
mm,
together for certain issues. We just
mhm.
seen that the other day via the No Kings rally. It was very
How's,
beautiful. The
yeah.
energy was out there, and it was mostly, it seems, if liberals and Democrats, no problem with that. But where was the No King rallies from those same Democrats, liberals, when the real kings, in my opinion, said that if you don't get this vaccination, you won't have a job? That's king behavior to me.
Wow. Yes, it
That's that's
is.
that's monarch behavior to me.
Yes, it is.
Um, where was those rallies at? And
Yeah.
and and I have no problem calling out the hypocrisy on both sides, because I don't care if you're a Democrat or you're a Republican.
Mhm,
Right is right, wrong is wrong.
mhm,
Good and evil. No gray area, black and white,
mhm, mhm,
right? I want to
mhm.
focus on those things. Like, look, all right, if Sliwa was to say something that I disagree with, I'm going to address that. Yes,
Yeah.
I endorsed him. I'm going to address that.
Mhm,
Um, Eric Adams, me and Eric Adams, we had a cordial relationship. Um, Leading up to him being mayor and when he became mayor. But that went out the window once I seen how he handled the COVID situation and
mm,
the fired workers. I'm not
mhm.
married to anyone. I'm
Mhm.
married to the people and what makes sense. Right now,
Wow.
we're in a society where it feels like we have no common sense out here. Where's
Yeah.
the common sense? It
Let's hear
makes
it.
absolutely no sense that
Yeah.
we do not have common sense out here. And once again, asking a minor to do anything physically to their bodies is insane.
Mhm.
I mean, I can't even think of, to pale in comparison, getting a tattoo, a 14-year-old walking into a tattoo shop and saying that I want to get a tattoo, but they could walk into a medical facility and say that they want a particular procedure. And I want to make this clear also. This is not a fight that's new to me.
Right.
Last year, I went up to Albany with a whole bunch of other freedom fighters and had the meeting with the guy who, I forgot what his name is, that's in charge of the medical stuff for Albany.
Mhm.
um his assistant, I had to ask him, I said, you okay with minors getting these surgeries? Do you
Mhm.
have kids?
Mhm.
He said no. I said, well, the conversation is over. You're not in any one of our
Wow.
shoes to even make a decision to even be a part of
Mhm.
this, because you do
Mhm.
not have children.
Wow. Good for you. Well, I'm leaving out an important part of your bio, Trammell, which is during the mandates which were imposed on first responders in New York, teachers, firefighters, police, they weren't imposed on transit workers. And nonetheless, you stood with those who were rejecting the mandates, even though you didn't have to. And that is honestly, I am not trying to be a fangirl, but that is the definition of heroism. You know, you did it because it was right and not because it affected you personally. And thank
Once
you for
again,
that.
no, thank you, I appreciate that. Once again, we're talking about common sense, right? So during that time, I was a transit worker. I got COVID really bad. I got real sick before the
Sorry.
vaccines came out. And transit workers were allowed to work without a vaccine, without a mandate. But the police officers who keep us safe inside of the subways were met with a mandate.
Oh my
So
gosh.
what was different about us transit workers that was so different from police officers or nurses? And once again, I spoke about this earlier in the broadcast. The transportation system is the lifeblood of New York, period, right? New York City. These corporations, the Targets, the Macy's, the Amazons, they rely on the transportation system in New York.
Yes, I do.
So these billionaires basically said, I don't care what you guys shut down the NYPD, shut down FDNY, shut down corrections, but you cannot shut down our moneymaker, which is the New York City transportation system. Keep
Mm-hmm.
them going. We don't care how many people die or whatever the case is, right? So transit workers lost more uh workers to COVID than any other agency in the United States,
Really, I did not know that. I
right?
did not know that. How
That
awful. I'm so
that
sorry.
during the beginning of the COVID stuff, I made a plea to the governor, not really a plea, but a statement that if you try to hit us with a mandate, you're going to have issues because at that time I wasn't an elected union rep. I was a citizen, and I had the influence to stop
Mm.
service. I
Right,
had that influence at that time, and it's
right,
even greater now, right? But I wouldn't do that
right.
because of my union rep position. But
Hmm.
they knew that if they would have imposed a mandate on us, it would have been an issue. It would have been an issue. We never had a mandate this whole entire time, and
Yeah.
I begged the question to a Mondamni who said he would not bring back fire workers. What was different from transit workers than police officers,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
If it was about safety.
Yeah. So you've had an amazing, everything you said makes sense. So were you in the subways as a transit worker? Is that where you were working?
Yes, I got sick March 2020,
Wow, early.
and
Mm,
to be honest, I was naive because I was like, they was like, oh, it's similar to the flu, this and that. I said, I never had the flu before. I'm not gonna get COVID. Woof,
mm.
was I
That's
wrong?
bad. Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry.
yeah, I was 100% wrong. So later, um, if you want to speak about the COVID movement, I did get vaccinated,
Mhm,
and I stood with the unvaccinated because
mhm.
it just didn't make no sense. Like it reminded me of segregation all over again. Oh, if you got this card, you could go inside this restaurant to
Right.
eat, but if you don't, you can't eat or whatever the case is, right? So I said, wait, I can't stand for this. So I kept it quiet for a while that I was vaccinated because they kept
Mhm,
calling us anti-vaxxers. I'm like, how are we anti-vaxxers? I'm
mhm,
vaccinated.
mhm,
And we threw a rally in Albany. I think it was the 2021 January. It was about 20 degrees outside.
mhm. Ooh.
And I tore up my vaccination card in front of everybody
Oh,
and said, look,
wow.
basically from this point forward, I'm unvaccinated
I love it.
because I'm not showing my card to get into anywhere.
Thank you very much.
And
That's a New Yorker speaking. That's an American speaking. We
yeah,
don't provide papers for free assembly and moving around our city. Thank you. Trammell, honestly, thank you for saying that. It's exactly right. I mean, I can't believe everyone's loving this. You are based, Trammell Thompson. You're getting a lot of fans. Uh, you probably already have a ton of fans out there watching. The 1964 Civil Rights Act prohibits creating a two-tier society. That was everything about that was totally illegal. But I did notice that a lot of the early heroes who spoke against the two-tier society were people who came from histories that had experienced, you're free, you're not free, you have status, you have no status, you can walk over here, you can't walk over there. And you know we could see clearly that this was a two-tier illegal society that led to much, much worse things. But you took a very prominent, responsible role, and you stood on the right side of history. So again, I just really want to thank you. And now we're coming to the end of our time. So I do have a final question. You have 5 million followers. I mean, I'm not kidding when I'm saying you're
not
bigger.
followers, not followers.
Okay,
Eh,
views a month.
5 million viewers, concurrent viewers a month.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Fine, my mistake, but still,
Yeah.
that is huge. Like, all right, you're bigger than CNN in that case because that's apples to apples. Um, you are, and and what is it that people are following you for that they're not getting anywhere else? A, and B, Would you please tell me what it is about where did you grow up? Who were your parents that led you to be able to take such a leadership role and stand on the right side of history?
I think that people follow me for transparency and honesty. I hear from a lot of people, powerful people, that they always tell me I have a certain type of charisma about me. I still don't know what that is or what it look like. Like sometimes I'll be thinking myself, like, why do these people follow me?
Right.
But when I'm out in the street now, at least 10 people a day would stop me, ask to take a picture,
Oh.
I would ask them, why do you follow me?
Mhm.
It's like, look, we love the information that you give. We feel that you honest and you just got something about you. Like almost everyone says that. And the what's the second question?
What was your growing
Oh,
up like? Where
background.
did you grow up?
All
Who
right.
were your parents? What led you to be able to take these leadership positions?
This was the first time I ever was asked this question in an interview, and I'm happy that you asked this. My parents, we didn't have money. I grew up in Bed-Stuy, Tompkins projects, and then I moved to Gates Avenue in Stuyvesant Gardens. So we never really had no money.
Mm,
My mother, she's a fighter, but she's not like my level type fight. Like my mother speaks her mind. Let me just say
mhm,
that.
mhm,
My father, he speaks his mind, but it's nothing that you would say, all right, I could tell from his parents that this is what he was going to do. I
mhm.
think and I'm gonna tell you what led me down that path. I used to do music. I used to be a rapper, and
Really?
I rapped about stuff that was destroying my community, things that I don't even stand on, right? And I joined the Transit Authority in 2013, and I was like, I got to change my life. So I was automatically thinking, I want to become a supervisor. I want to move up. I want to become a boss inside the agency. But my first month within the agency, I'm like, something isn't right here. There needs to be change here. And I decided, while I was still on probation, I never wanted to go to college. I felt like going to college, I was gonna read a whole bunch of books that I didn't want to read, and that destroyed me the whole time. Every time I was like, I'm gonna go join college. I said, you know what? I'm gonna go join college. I went to college 4 years while developing progressive action. I actually thought about progressive action while sitting in one of my college classes and saying I need to do something about the environment that I'm
Mhm,
working in. I need to create
mhm,
some type of change. So I came
mhm,
up with progressive action in my class, but going to college helped me formulate my fight. So it was a
hmm.
great decision for me to go to college. I went to the College of New Rochelle 4 years straight through the summer, everything.
Wow.
Graduated with a 3.7 average.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
I was a 3.9 up until my last year. My last year, I said, you know what, F this. I'm tired of school. But while I was formulating progressive action, I was at work, bringing my computer to work every day, reading, writing, and just executing.
Mhm,
And that helped formulate my fight. But I think that spiritually, I think that God had other plans for me that I didn't have for myself. It was up to me. I probably would have been that rapper that was destroying my community. But what
mhm,
I come to realize is that all the music I was doing, the performing, public speaking, it was formulating me for this day that I'm living in today. Because normally Trammell Thompson, anybody who knows me would tell you Trammell is quiet. He stayed to himself. He don't roll with the crowd. So this in this position right here, I'm stepping outside of my box, but I walk in faith every day. Every day. I did something with the transit authority in my union that never was done before. I got terminated for whistleblowing.
hmm.
I end up winning my election the same year to be a union rep. Uh I went through it wasn't easy. A lot of people don't know this is that my union set me up where I got my leg broken in two places and jumped on the property, right? A lot of people that was in the newspaper and the union
Oh my
president less
God.
than 24 hours after making that after the when I got assaulted, he made a statement saying that I started the fight. You wasn't even there, and it
Oh my
contradicted actual
God.
witness statements. Yeah, so I've been through a lot. But I stayed the course. I could have reacted very differently from the things that I went through, but I kept my faith. I kept my head down because I knew what the end goal was going to be, and I'm exactly where uh I want to be right now. Not necessarily where where I want to be, but where God needs me to be, so to speak. So that's how it is. Like when my story is done, the book, the movie is going to be phenomenal, and I'm just here by faith. Every day I wake up, I just think, what can I do to change the world?
Okay,
Um,
everyone's crying now. Like
and,
everyone's crying.
in
I don't
in a
even have a tissue.
in a space where people not being honest with you, there's not a lot of truth talkers like yourself,
Thank
myself. Um, we are rare, but once again, like the saying goes, I'd rather have one lion than 1,000 sheep.
you.
So I'm gonna continue doing what I'm doing, and just I see somebody said I was MAGA. I like the
Yes,
term "Make America Great Again." It's a great term, but I just want honesty, transparency, and I want the working class to win, because when the working class rise, every other class rise,
that's
and
for sure.
that's what I'm here for.
Beautiful. Well, sadly, we've run out of time. If you were a betting man, would you place odds on the outcome of the mayoral election, or do you think Sliwa can win it, like realistically?
Once again, in my view, Sliwa already won. He went
Wow.
against the grain.
Yeah.
He wasn't supposed to be here. He got shot 5 times, right? So in my opinion, Sliwa already won, and it's not about. Of course, we want him to win, but it's about right or wrong, and I'm gonna stand on
Yeah.
the side of right when it comes to politics. So we may not agree with the popular choice or the choice that's constantly in your face. That's
Hmm.
not where my interests reside. My interests reside on right or wrong, good and
Hmm.
evil, and I believe that Mr. Sliwa is on the side of good, and he's on the side of right.
Beautiful. Well, everyone's so moved. It's a very profound interview, and I want to thank you so much for taking the time, Trammell, to talk to us all. There are nearly 1,500 people watching just on this platform, and we're on many, many other platforms at the same time. So, how do people support you, and how do they support Curtis Lewa if they want to? And I'll tell them how they can support Athena Clark if they want to.
Well, yeah, well, my endorsement of Mr. Sliwa got over 500,000 views in a couple of days, so I'm very
Whoa,
happy.
Trammell, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
I'm very
Holy
happy
cow.
about that. But
Wow.
you can follow me if you on Twitter watching this. My Twitter is at Progressive Act ACT. My Instagram is Progressive Action. My TikTok is Progressive Action, and my YouTube is Progressive Action. You could just support me by sharing my videos, giving me a follow, and not only when it comes to me, but when you see other people that's out there fighting, just tell them that you appreciate them. That's more than enough as a reward, because people in our positions, we don't feel like we appreciate it enough. And sometimes we may feel like our day is in vain, or our fight may be in vain. So if you see a truth speaker out there, a freedom fighter, just tell them that you appreciate them. You appreciate their work, because we support so much foolery, these reality TV shows, all this other craziness, but we never support the things that can make our life a day better. So if you see a freedom fighter out there, a truth speaker, tell them that you appreciate them. That's enough payment for me.
That's so beautiful. Well said. And I'll just remind everyone that if you like what Athena Clark is doing, again, we are helping her at Daily Clout. She's at clark4council.com and or I'm sorry, clarkforcouncil2025.com. And everything matters at this stage, right? Signs outside. If you know someone in Brooklyn or New York, even if you don't live there, you're allowed to donate, to Sliwa or Clark or any of the candidates, even if you don't live in New York City. Of course, it matters more if you do live in New York City for matching funds. But volunteer. Athena's having a pizza party. It's pinned on my social media, and it's also on her website. And I know Trammell said, and it's true, you should thank a truth teller and a freedom fighter. But I am here to say, if you want people like him and these other amazing fighters to carry on and do this incredible work and have such an impact on the culture, I do think you've got to, think about putting resources beyond,
No, that's a fact. That's a.
because
Oh, I
we
forgot to
can't
say.
do it without it.
I support Athena Clark also. I've done a couple of videos with her, and actually, I'm gonna be out there tomorrow. I told her I would join her. Um, um, during her campaign, so I will be out there with her tomorrow. I won't be at the pizza event, but I will be with her tomorrow for a couple of hours. In her community because I'm proud of her. Like she came out of nowhere. And she stepped into the role. She
Yeah,
stepped into the role fully, and like that's another example. She in my heart she already won already, but we need her in there. We
yeah,
need Curtis in there. We need her in there.
yeah.
And those are the only two that I've committed to endorsing this whole entire race. So
Well,
that's it.
that's amazing, Trammell. Well, I'll let you go, but I'll just say I am looking forward in my lifetime, in the not too distant future, to voting for a Thompson Clark ticket to run this country, because this is the
Wow.
leadership we need. And I'm sure you both are just at the very beginning of your impact on this nation, as much as you've already accomplished. Thank you so much, Trammell Thompson. I'm so grateful to you, and grateful for everything you've shared today.
Thank
And
you. I appreciate
everyone,
it.
check him out,
Thanks for
follow
opening
him.
up your platform to me.
Of course, take care. See you soon.
Thank you.